I know that this industry can be tough to navigate for someone who doesn't know the pitfalls. And I want to ask you, what were some of the things that you would express to the agents, even if they weren't coming with us? You know, keep an eye out for X, Y, and Z when you go to the signings. What is it that you need to be aware of? How to navigate the industry and be careful not to have anyone step on your toes?
Well, I always say this can be a pretty sleazy industry if you want to let it be. And one of the things that I think is common with the small time signings that people do is, the players are not interested in spending a lot of time doing the signing.
Sure.
Sign, get their money, get out. And if there's a few extra autographs in there, who cares? That can be extrapolated to hundreds of extra autographs, and then you really piss the players off. And one of the reasons, if they feel that you're taking advantage of them by getting extra stuff signed, there's 100 pieces there, but there's really 120 pieces there.
Right.
Now, granted, there's smudges and things that you need to account for, but sometimes it gets out of control. And when some of the shadier people in the industry start throwing in 200 or 300 extra items, and this is why we keep the players that we have. The first conversation I had with Sidney Crosby, he was 15 years old, the first signing we did in Rimouski, and I said to him up front, I said, aren't you going to count this stuff? And he says, well, no, I don't really want to spend an hour counting 500 or 1,000 pieces. And I said, well, here's what I did for you, because I assumed that would be the case. I said, you shouldn't really trust, you don't know me, so you really shouldn't trust me on that. So I said, I've divided everything into small piles of 25. Mm-hmm. And if you, at the end of the signing, want to pick any pile and count them, there'll be 25 in each pile.
Yeah.
And that way you don't have to count everything. And if I get lucky, if I want to cheat you and I get lucky and you don't pick the right pile, it's one thing. But from that day on, we had this trust factor.
Yeah.
Hand the sheet. This is what's in the pile. This is what you're going to be signing. And everybody's comfortable with that.
There's more to it than that as well. I mean, there was, before the agents knew any better in this, and not even just the agents, player managers, players themselves, they'd usually be offered one of two options, and the person offering the money for the signing would lean heavily towards one, and that option was a timed signing. I get you for an hour, and whatever I can put in front of you, I put in front of you. We came to the industry understanding that from a business point of view, pricing out your own products, especially we are not working against the player to get more out of them than they may otherwise than we may have otherwise gotten. What we want to do is establish a baseline price for their autographs. We want to give you X amount because this means that's what we can sell it for. A lot of players were getting into these situations where it's a 2-hour signing. Maybe we pay them the same amount, but we only get half as much signed. But at least that way there is almost like a gold standard currency value for each autograph. Otherwise, these agents may have just said, okay, I'm going to sit you down for an hour. Who knows what the value of your autograph is going to be after that? If we get paid $2,000 and you sign 1,000 autographs, then all of a sudden your autograph isn't worth very much. We were very focused, and I think advised some of the agencies as well in that regard to be careful the types of deals.
Some of it, like Pat and I talked a lot about it. At the beginning when we were doing Sidney stuff, and he was saying, well, why should you pay the same amount for an 8x10 as a 16x20 as a jersey?
Right.
And I said, well, we make a lot more on the jerseys, so maybe we should pay more for jerseys than we do for 8x10s and, the higher price point. So we kind of established an index of what every item was worth. And back in the day, you're right, there were time signings. Well, the guys didn't realize that they were signing 1,000 items in an hour. They didn't know they could do that many. And,
if you've never seen how these signings take place, this is not an autograph signing like you would see at a sport card expo or something like that. There is not one person bringing an item, getting it signed, and moving on. You usually have 2 workers per every athlete constantly getting the signatures in front of people. In the past, when it was a timed signing, it was so that you could get as many items through as possible. Now, the way we want to do it, we know the players don't like to sit down for an extended period of time signing their name over and over again. So if we agree to give them 200 products, we just want to push those 200 items through as quick as possible to get them up and going and make it as painless as possible. It is very much an assembly line factory.
Well, it is, but then you've got your various types of autographs. Sidney Crosby has a really nice autograph.
Right.
Wayne Gretzky has a really nice autograph. So on some of these signings, some of the players can get through 1,000 pieces in an hour. Others, and that's largely because their autograph is mostly illegible. I think that's why they started putting their number underneath the autograph, so people at least know who that was.
Yeah.
And then other players like Sidney Crosby or Carey Price, they take a little more time and they make sure that you can read it. Of course, the older players and the alumni like Paul Henderson I'm looking at right now, or Bobby Orr, you could read every letter.
Yeah.
Over the years, that just diminished.
That's a common kind of understanding in the modern NHL. You don't usually get a signature that looks like a work of art. I mean, Sidney's, and this is something if people aren't aware of this, look very closely at Sidney Crosby's autograph. It is basically his name made up of different variations of the number 87. It's very creative. It's very cool. Now but basically that means is like, in the hour or so that we have, sometimes we can't get through as many if a player, takes a lot more time with their autograph. And I think a lot of collectors do appreciate that, having something that looks a little bit more like a work of art. Who had an autograph that I did really like? It wasn't quite legible, but he always made it really big and bold, was Nail Yakupov. Do you remember his autograph?
Yeah. The great big circles.
Yeah. It was very distinctive, if nothing else.
What a great guy.
Thank you so much for watching this clip of the Sign Off, a Frameworth podcast. Just a reminder that we have full episodes of the Sign Off available wherever you get your podcasts, on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Make sure to like and subscribe on whichever platform you use. You can find us on Twitter at Frameworth Sport or on Instagram at Frameworth Sports. And hey, if you're not sick of me yet, you can find me on Twitter at Retrograde Mikey. Finally, feel free to send us emails with your questions you want us to answer on the show, and we may feature you live. You can do that by sending your emails to signoffpod@frameworth.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you with a new episode every single Thursday.